India uses more antibiotics than any other country. They've saved millions of lives. But there's been a dangerous and unintended side effect: the creation of deadly superbugs, which no antibiotics can kill. In India, it's children who are most at risk. But this medical disaster threatens everyone, everywhere. I'm Steve Chow. On this episode, 101 East travels to India, ground zero for the world's deadliest superbugs.
India. More babies are born here than any other country in the world, leaving hospitals like this one bursting at the seams. This is the Hindu Rao Hospital in North Delhi. More than 400 pregnant women come here every day.
The doctors in this hospital have just delivered a beautiful baby girl. She's one of 70,000 children born in India just today.
In the hospital waiting area, a new father is celebrating another recent birth. 27-year-old Joginder Kanosia is eager to share his good fortune.
I'm very excited to have a baby boy. I have a complete family now. My father wanted me to have a baby, and today finally I have one. I am very happy.
And how's your wife doing?
We had a love marriage, and this son is the proof of our love. Even this tattoo on my arm shows how much I love Radhika.
Jogi and Radhika. Short name Jogi, full name Joginder.
Joginder's 19-year-old wife Radhika is exhausted after a tough delivery, but she feels relieved to have given birth to a healthy child weighing 2.7 kilograms. They haven't always been so lucky.
Our first baby miscarried, so this time the only thing I wanted was a healthy baby.
I'm really happy. During this pregnancy, I did not take any medicine. I was advised by my doctor that I should not take any medicine unless prescribed. I took complete care of myself to ensure my pregnancy went smoothly.
This government-run hospital is the only one the couple can afford. It offers free care to low-income families. It's certainly no frills. As with many public maternity wards in India, mothers sleep two to a bed. The sheets are blood-stained, bed frames rusted, and medical waste is strewn about. Expectant mums wait in rooms that have walls covered with mould. These unsanitary conditions, both in hospitals and homes, are part of the reason newborns like this one face life-threatening infections. The biggest killer here is sepsis, or septicemia, which is when the baby's immune system goes into overdrive to fight infection. Antibiotics have saved millions of young lives here. But now a new threat has emerged. These drugs are no longer proving effective, and instead are creating lethal superbugs that no antibiotics can treat. A recent study of newborns by one of the world's leading microbiology researchers, Professor Ramanan Laxmanarian, estimates 58,000 babies die in India each year from superbugs.
Now, in countries like India, where we have not yet achieved that level of public health and sanitation, we are using the antibiotics as a first line as opposed to being the mop-up operation. That is a huge mistake because we're using far more antibiotics to deal with this background of infectious disease than we really should be doing.
India has one of the highest rates of antibiotic resistance in the world, with superbugs killing tens of thousands of babies each year. And now they pose one of the greatest threats to global health since the rise of modern medicine.
India, I would say, is absolutely in the front lines of the problem of antibiotic resistance globally. India has the highest number of newborns that die of drug-resistant infections, which means infections that could not be treated by the typical first-line antibiotics. Now, this is a number which is bound to increase over time. It is a huge concern because India has made a lot of progress in reducing the number of deaths in children under 5, but we have not made as much progress on reducing the number of newborn deaths.
Professor Ramanan says it's not just India's overcrowding, poverty and poor sanitation that are creating superbugs here. The biggest contributors are the misuse and overuse of antibiotics. The country's use of them is spiralling out of control. Easy access to these life-saving drugs, he says, is a double-edged sword.
If you are out in a remote part of the country without access to a doctor or a pharmacy, you can't wait to get an antibiotic. The problem is that many antibiotics, particularly in urban areas, which just should not be taken by patients without a prescription, can be easily bought over the counter, even though there are regulations on the books that should prevent such use.
So just how easy is it to buy antibiotics here without a prescription? With a hidden camera, my colleague heads to a busy strip of pharmacies outside of one of India's most prestigious government hospitals in Delhi's south. He's going to ask for the antibiotic Norflox, which is used to treat urinary tract infections.
Norflox.
He then asks for colistin, which the World Health Organization has called a last resort antibiotic. Its trade name here is valamycin. Only one of the pharmacies we tried asked for a doctor's prescription. But they were willing to sell the antibiotic regardless.
Thank you.
It's all too easy, and it has dire implications. Unchecked access to antibiotics, whether they are medically needed or not.
Everything. Everything.
Without working antibiotics, common infections and minor injuries which have been treatable for decades will once again kill. Even last resort antibiotics used to treat the worst drug-resistant infections are now useless. And while India may be ground zero, the threat is global.
What happens with superbugs is that a gene that makes bacteria resistant to certain antibiotics, it gets passed on from one bacteria to another. European scientists discovered such a gene in a patient that was traveling in India, and they called it NDM1 after New Delhi. That was 7 years ago, and it's since spread to more than 70 countries.
In this age of international travel, superbugs can spread with alarming ease, threatening lives across the world. If no new antibiotics are found, studies warn superbugs will kill 10 million people a year by 2050, making them a bigger killer than cancer. And it's newborns with their weak immune systems who are most at risk.
One of the things we do in a very big
Leading
way
paediatrician Dr. Vinod Paul has just completed a study on antibiotic resistance in newborns in India. His results are alarming.
we do find that 60 to 80% of organisms that cause newborn infections in our country are resistant to the kind of antibiotics that we normally use.
Dr. Paul led a team studying 15,000 high-risk newborns. His full report will be published in the leading medical journal The Lancet later this year. It reveals the new reality in the fight against superbugs, that up to 80% of infections in newborns in India are resistant to multiple powerful antibiotics.
We are dealing with those pathogens which are unusual and are tough by themselves, and a fair proportion of them are now smarter than the antibiotics that we use in them. So we have to live with this. We have to fight this and change not only treatment of these babies, prevention, and an overall change in the environment. Ultimately, infections have roots in bad sanitation, bad hygienic conditions, overcrowding, poor sewage disposal, and so on. That ecological system has to change gradually.
It's a special day for new father Joginder and his family. Joginder's wife Radhika and the new baby are coming home from hospital. They live with their extended family in a poor neighbourhood on the outskirts of Delhi. Joginder's parents live on the ground floor, together with his brother's family. He and Radhika live in a small room upstairs. It may not be fancy, but it's filled with love and support. And for now, it's where the new family will face their future. I'm looking forward to seeing how they've settled in.
Hi, namaste. How's the baby? It's upstairs. Can we see?
There's not much space. This tiny room is where Joginder, Radhika and their son eat and sleep. But that doesn't seem to bother Radhika. She's clearly besotted with her new baby boy. They'll be spending a lot of time together in this room. Radhika and her baby will be confined here for the next 40 days. The tradition that's meant to protect the mother and child from infections.
A lot of people have told me not to go out. If I go out, then he could catch something. For the next 40 days, we will stay inside.
Having gone through so much to start a family, Radhika and Joginder are taking no chances.
It was a normal delivery, so the only thing I'm worried about is the well-being of my baby. I don't want Radhika to wash clothes or clean. I feel she could catch a cold and pass it on to the baby when she breastfeeds him. So I've asked her not to do any housework. I would rather help her with the chores.
It's probably just as well. Just outside their front door, open sewers flow with untreated waste, a toxic bacterial brew. Radhika and Joginder say they've never heard about antibiotic resistance and superbugs. For all their worries about their new son, one of their biggest right now is what to name him. In keeping with family and religious traditions, he'll be named at a celebration on his 40th day. Joginder irons clothes for a living. On a good day, he can make $8. But he and Radhika want more for their son, the education and opportunities they never had.
I want my child to study. I couldn't study because my father was an alcoholic and I married when I was 17. I only know how to write my name, nothing else. The dream I have for my child is for him to be educated, to study well and get a higher education.
I'm not financially sound, but I do still have dreams for my child once he grows up. In 5 years, I will send him to school so he can study. I won't pressure him to become an engineer or a doctor. I'll let him decide what he wants to become. Let's see where his fate takes him. He was born with good fortune, and I hope that remains with him forever. Isn't that right?
A day's drive south of Delhi in the city of Amravati lives Anjali Thakur, her husband Ramdas and their 2-year-old daughter Kushi. Anjali's husband makes just a few dollars a day working in one of the local factories. Today they are a happy family. Their daughter Kushi is thriving. But 3 years ago their first child was born prematurely and spent 7 days struggling to survive in an intensive care unit. Anjali prayed while her newborn was pumped with antibiotics.
The doctors gave her various medicines, but she didn't respond to any of them. She had a high fever. In fact, both of us did. I was given a lot of medicine and was put on a drip. My daughter was taken to the intensive care. She was given medicine, an oxygen mask and a drip.
Anjali had wanted to call her first child Arya, but the baby died before she could be named.
I was really upset. Everyone was trying to comfort me, but I was inconsolable.
Anjali believes if they had more money, her daughter might have survived.
I don't know if the doctors gave her good treatment. We are poor people and do not have money. What happened to me should not happen to anyone else. God, it should never happen to anyone.
But the pediatrician who treated Anjali's daughter says nothing could be done to save the little girl. The antibiotics they gave her were useless.
Unfortunately, it didn't respond to any line of treatment. The bugs, the infection, probably he might have get from the mother or from the environment also. And the most important, he didn't respond to any antibiotic.
Dr. Talvika says deaths like Anjali's daughter's are becoming more and more common.
Yes, this is a big problem. Each and every clinician is facing this problem in a country like India, who is a developing country, where this problem are emerging with a great velocity.
While she can't forget the pain of losing her first child, she says her second daughter Kushi is a blessing.
I was a bit worried about what will happen, how it will happen, will fate repeat itself, but the doctors were always reassuring me that everything was normal. My second daughter's name is Kushi, which means happiness, because when my second daughter was born, I was really happy.
I head next to Gashiroli, a few hours west of Anjali's home, to find out how people fare out of the cities away from hospitals. This is a rural district, a tribal area so underdeveloped it's marked for special assistance by the government, and the people here certainly need that kind of help, especially if it can give them access to adequate healthcare. Villagers have to travel hours to reach the nearest hospital, meaning many never see a doctor. It's long been common here for women to give birth at home. Unfortunately, it was also common for many of their babies to die.
Once they're grown up, look at those two.
Local doctor Abhay Bang has dedicated his life to saving theirs. His solution: to train local women to care for the newborns in their villages.
That's the only way you can provide care to the community.
Namaste.
Newborn babies, sick children cannot reach hospitals. This district is 300 kilometers long, and there is only one hospital, government hospital, where newborn care can be provided. So we provided care in the villages by selecting a village woman to become community health worker and provide home-based newborn care.
His approach has worked. When he came here 3 decades ago, 121 babies died out of every 1,000 born. Today, the number is just 30, well below the national average. Dr. Bang's community health workers are village women like these. They're known locally as angels of health, or Arogyuduts. He teaches them a range of life-saving skills for newborn care, including how to resuscitate unresponsive babies delivered at home.
शाबास. कुठे बघशील? पोटाकडे बघेल.
How to check if a newborn is underweight.
तुझे डोळे जे आहे ते बरोबर त्याच्या समोर आहे. आता किती वजन आहे तुझ्या बाळाचं?
1 किलो 300.
1 किलो 300.
And crucially, he teaches them how to diagnose sepsis, which can lead to multiple organ failure and death.
7 चिन्ह आहेत आपल्याकडे. एकही चिन्ह नसेल तर बाळ तर छानच आहे. एक चिन्ह असेल तर आपण म्हणू हा बाळाला त्रास तर आहे पण अजून जंतुदोष नाही आहे. पण कमीत कमी 2 चिन्ह असले तर मात्र बाळाला जंतुदोष आहे. तर जंतुदोषाचं निदान अशा तऱ्हेने केलं तर आपलं निदान अगदी बरोबर असते.
And if sepsis is diagnosed, part of their training is how to administer antibiotics, despite the concern about superbugs.
बाळाचा जीव वाचणार आहे, मांडीमध्ये द्यायचा आहे. मांडीमध्ये नर्व नसा असतात, तिला कुठे इजा नाही झाली पाहिजे. तुम्ही मांडी क्लीन केली आहे स्पिरिटने, आता द्या.
Dr. Bung insists antibiotics still have a vital role to play in saving lives. The key, he says, is not to overuse them.
Emergence of antibiotic resistance depends on how much total quantum of antibiotic is pumped in the nature. So here we use antibiotic in very small doses. Between 6 to 10% neonates we give antibiotics because they have signs of sepsis. So the use of antibiotic is not frequent. So far there are no signs of any antibiotic resistance emerging here. If the antibiotic resistance would have emerged, the death rate would have shot up. So minimum dose, minimum number of neonates, and with several quality checks, that probably is the explanation why, in spite of using antibiotic for the last 20 years, we don't see emergence of resistance to these 2 antibiotics that we use in this area.
Dr. Bung says the good outcomes in this region are due to good training, and because he provides the antibiotics for free, which removes any financial incentives for overprescribing.
If you train them properly, give them clear guidelines, and if there is a good supervision and monitoring, then usually they don't transgress those boundaries. They don't have overconfidence of a doctor. They also do not have any financial incentive. Usually doctors have. I need to get more patients. If I want to attract more patients, I must impress them with quick results. So I overuse antibiotic. Community health worker has no such attraction. And so they use antibiotics in a limited way in the cases where it is indicated.
Dr. Bung's model of community health workers has been adopted by the Indian government. Almost 1 million now provide healthcare across the country. Back in the big city of Delhi, the 40 days of confinement are over, and Radhika and Joginder are preparing to introduce their son to the world.
I have been in my house for the last 40 days and now I have the freedom to move. I feel good.
Today they will finally give their baby boy a name in a traditional ceremony. Naming ceremonies can be lavish occasions in India, but Joginder and Radhika have opted for a modest affair, preferring to invest in their son's future rather than an extravagant feast.
This is indeed a special day for us. We wanted to do a grand ceremony, but we could not arrange the money, so we decided to have a small prayer in the temple. We are saving our money for our son's future.
Despite their wishes for a modern name for their son, the priest tells them the auspicious letter is G and suggests the name Gulab Singh. Joginder and Radhika are unimpressed.
The priest has suggested Gulab Singh, but we will call him Vihan.
I don't like his name. I will call him Vihan.
Whatever his name, Joginder and Radhika pray for a long and healthy life for their baby. But prayers may not be enough for India's future generations. The continued misuse of antibiotics will lead to more superbugs claiming more young lives. And that's a threat not only here in the world's most populous country, but globally.